Good morning and welcome to our monthly interview with Greene County Mayor David Crum as we recap this past Monday's meeting of the Greene County Commission. Mayor, always a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Jim. Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Greene County.
Well, the Monday meeting, as we've talked about prior to this interview, there wasn't a lot on the agenda, but there were a couple big things on the agenda that we'll tackle and talk about here in a little bit of depth. Probably the top item and the one that has the most people talking is the resolution about the same-sex marriage resolution that the commissioners passed 17-2. And just if you could just give us a little bit of what it all means, whether it's how it falls as far as whether it's the symbolism or that there could be some teeth behind it.
Yeah, counties typically do resolutions to go to the state for two different reasons in general. One, something that would be specific to Greene County, that they would ask for a private act of the legislature to allow Greene County to do something specific to it. Counties get their authority to act based upon what states grant them, and anything outside the norm they have to ask permission, basically. Things like the asphalt plant that we put in, the wheel tax go down, are specific to Greene County. Issues like this that commissioners and commissions may feel are relevant not only to Greene County but to the state as a whole, and want to go on record supporting specific issues or specific items, they can pass a resolution and ask their state legislatures to support that, and in this case support that state of Tennessee constitutional amendment that was passed some years ago dealing with marriage between a man and a woman. And so that's what this will send down to the state, making that request that the state of Tennessee will support that constitutional amendment that the state passed.
Now, not saying that there's any plans or such in the works, but according to the resolution, there could be the possibility of there would be the resolution says that the county will support any official who wants to take a stand against the same-sex marriage as was brought down by the Supreme Court. Do you anticipate that something like that would happen? Do you think? I mean, that's kind of would be a worst case scenario, I guess. If you'd have a lawsuit or some other. Is the county prepared to deal with that as it comes about?
Well, they would have to if it come about. I don't want to speak for Ken Clerk, but she's been issued an opinion by the state attorney general the day that the Supreme Court made that decision. And the interpretation is, and license have been issued, so I guess she would continue to do that unless advised by counsel on the state level, the local level, or somewhere that she would be okay in making that change.
Well, it's definitely a issue that's really drawn a hot button, certainly across the country, and there was a pretty healthy crowd at the meeting on Monday night that was following along with the dialogue, but I guess we'll see what happens, and the commissioners have spoken on this issue, and we'll just kind of wait and see if anything further becomes of that.
It is, and I do want to say we did have a full packed house, and I want to say that I appreciate the respect that each of the individuals that came there allowed the commission to continue through with its process and listen to that process. And I would encourage people to come to commission meetings that third Monday night of the month at 6 o'clock at the courthouse to see how we operate and the process that it goes through.
One of the other big items at the meeting on Monday night was the appointment of the to fill the vacant seat in the 7th District. The seat that Hilton C. occupied has been filled now by Paul Berkey. He won the special election within the meeting to take that seat, and just kind of explain how that all went about at the meeting.
What we did was we called on each of the individuals that had put in a petition, or not really a petition, but a resume that they wish to be considered, and there were no other nominations from the floor. The election office had reviewed that they each met the qualifications to be considered. So we went through various, it was a roll call vote. Each commissioner had a vote, and then we just continued to drop the number of candidates based on lowest number of votes until we came up with an individual that received that number of 11 that needed to be, and that was Paul Berkey. Paul's family's from this area. I don't know him personally. I know that I think his dad was Oliver Berkey. Am I right that he mentioned that? And that's a well-known name here. Mr. Berkey retired 27 years with the Navy and rank as a captain. He had not been sworn in, so he was not allowed to vote or anything, so until he took that oath and signed the proper paperwork, but he did sit down and had a packet there to kind of get him a little familiar with the process the commissioner goes through during that meeting.
So he will, next month he will be a full member and will take part of the meeting.
Yeah, as soon as he signs and gets everything taken care of, he'd be able to attend any committee meetings that he's appointed to.
Speaking of committees, there were appointments to the committees. The commissioners had a list of all the committees and the committee assignments, and those were ratified. So we have full committees now for the upcoming year. And really, when you go down and look through the list, there are a lot of committees. And you know this as well as anybody because you're usually at most of those meetings. There's a lot of committees that are dealing with the various issues around the county.
They are. I mean, looking through this thing, we've got several pages that are different ones. Some meet monthly. You know, budget and finance is one of those that meets every month. That can take days whenever we get into that budgeting process. Insurance committee meets monthly. It's typically at least half a day. A lot of the others do meet monthly or maybe as needed, like Board of Zoning and Appeals. We had that one this morning. Did have an item of business that needed a variance, so it's scheduled for monthly, but it may not. Others meet on a as-needed basis, and some never really meet. Cable franchise is one of those that hasn't met in my time because we've got a cable contract that continues to be there, and so there's not really any business on that, but we still appoint some of those committees.
Other items that were on the agenda from the meeting, one of the it's a pass-through grant, but it's still a grant for $300,000 for Worthington Industries to help them expand their facility, and they're bringing in about 144 jobs that are going to be. They closed up a plant down in South Carolina, but it still sounds like most of those jobs are going to be local jobs.
They will be. Most of them are local. Worthington, as you said, 144 jobs. This is a $300,000 grant that comes through economic development to help in retrofitting and moving of equipment and setting up. Did a similar type grant with Hoof, help keep them here and expand their plant and operations here. And so this is a really good move. Typically most jobs are going to come from local employees, and whenever you especially get numbers like this, but I also like to say is if you've got 10, 20 or whatever people from Florence, South Carolina or Greenville.
I think it was Florence, yeah.
They're not going to commute. They're going to be buying a house somewhere around here and adding to our economic base. So even if they move in, realtors may find that a good thing. But yes, most of these will be here and will be, Worthington's a good paying, manufacturing is growing. I talked to the John Deeres, the DTRs, the Worthingtons quite regularly at different things, and a lot of places are looking for employees. So
the thing that I found positive about the presentation that the gentleman from Worthington had was that they said that there is a technical base here that they can draw from. That they'll need welders and those type of workers, and that there is a talent pool that they'll be able to pull from, and that's a kind of a credit to the technology schools that have been being able to train students.
It is. We've added through Walter State and technology and them welding programs. One of those that I've been pushing, and every time we have education workforce development, we talk about diesel mechanic school. There's a need for diesel mechanics, and trying to get that technology here at the center to where they can be trained, because those are well-paying jobs.
Another item that was on the agenda was about cleaning up the tires from the river. That work has been underway, but there was a grant that had come, or some money that was budgeted some years ago, about $36,000, that'll help clean up those tires. And it was kind of amazing how many tires have actually been pulled out of the river so far.
Yeah, and it was $36,000. We're not going to spend approximately somewhere around $14,000-15,000 of that money. I'd kind of like to work with property owners along the river. I think we can infer that if you live along the river and have got a group of tires that they've washed up out of the river, to try to work with them to be able to photograph and document and bring those in to continue to clean up, since we've got this money. But one of the other things we kind of threw in while we were doing is the riverbank was eroding. And as TDEC was there, they recommended that we could put in some rock. They had reviewed this money and believed it could be used for that also, as a reclamation project from the river to help decrease continued erosion off the riverbank. But yeah, they've had different tire cleanups over the years, and have taken a lot of tires out of the river. And I guess that's a lot of people thrown stuff away in places it didn't need to go. And now we're paying to clean up.
One other item that was on the agenda for the meeting, it's been a couple years since the county commission voted to contribute to the airport authority, and this year they've decided to do that to the tune of just over $30,000. Just kind of explain the background as to why that decision's been made now to make that contribution after not doing so the last couple of years.
It had been a joint venture, I guess, for a number of years that the city and county would put in money to help with the day-to-day operations at the airport. And for a couple of years that just was not done. And the airport brings a lot of economic impact to our community through the Worthingtons whenever they're looking to come in here. I tell people 99% of us will never board a plane and take off from Greene County Airport. It's a very small percentage of people that actually are going to come in and out, but those people drive a lot of economic factors in our community. As Worthington was looking to make this change, I understand they were flying their corporate people in and out almost on a weekly basis. John Deere utilizes it, DTR. Also the other side of that is the public safety side. We have a helicopter here in Greene County. They're stationed at the out at Laughlin Hospital. They have to be able to fuel, and so for the public safety of Greene County, it helps to have them a place they can stay. They've also talked about maybe putting fixed wing and actual airplane here to be able to transport. And I didn't realize one of the advantages our airport has over even Tri-Cities is Tri-Cities, if you've been there, know it's close to a large body of water. And it gets fogged in and fogged out much more often than ours based on our location. So private jets may be able, if we could promote our airport and as the expansion's going on, we may be able to draw more traffic into our airport. And as people come in and see our community, it may be helpful in the long run.
The other item that was on the agenda that we'll just kind of talk about briefly is the transferring money to the food service fund from the school fund, just to cover some shortages, if you will, that came up. But those funds are being covered now by the commission has voted to allow them to take it out of the school fund balance.
Yeah, the schools has transferred that money. It was a lot of different factors. and they just had come up short and needed to move that. School lunch funds can't be in the negative, so the comptroller basically said, you will do this. And it wasn't one of those that we were like, say, well, we'll wait till and see if the money comes in later on in the year. They were like, no, you're going to take care of that now. Food service director did kind of indicate that they are getting a little increase in the lunches there, and they get dictated a whole lot by federal law on what they will serve based on nutritional guidelines and things. And people my age remember a much different meal at school than what gets served today. And we were used to more home cooking than what we get somewhat today from schools. But it has to meet those nutritional guidelines.
We'll be back with more of our interview with Greene County Mayor David Crum right after this. Welcome back to our monthly interview with Greene County Mayor David Crum. I'm Jim Miller. Last year at this time, we were talking about tax anticipation notes and being short in the fund balance and trying to cover payroll and things were looking kind of iffy. But this year, I guess it's a little bit of a different story.
Yeah, things have improved quite a bit with the additional influx of revenue from the wheel tax that came in. And so it's much better flowing and letting government take care of the services that we need to provide. We still got a couple problems, and I think you're going to ask about those areas that we still have concern financially.
Well, obviously the biggest one would be, and you alluded to it on Monday, is the solid waste issue, where it's just going to come up against it, and one of the reactions to that was to change the convenience center hours and cut back on them a little bit, and they're staying steady. They're not gonna. You've hit a schedule now that fits and is gonna stay for the time being, but that's going to be something that's going to have to come up down the road.
It is. We have almost no money left at the end of this year. One of the things is one of the trucks that we use to collect recyclables is just. We're concerned, is it going to make it through the year? The cost to refurbish it and keep it going. If it goes down, then we lose that revenue from recyclables. But it is the hours were changed in July. Was the last time, except for those two that were closed on Saturdays to allow them to be open. Most of the cost that we have in solid waste just can't be reduced. I mean, when garbage crosses the scales at the landfill, it costs what it costs. So as we can take out corrugated and the plastic and the things that can be recycled or compost with some of the household waste that you may have with a compost pile, then it can reduce that. The cost of trucks and diesel and people to drive to collect, diesel's gone down. Gas has gone down a little bit, but diesel still is a little bit higher. So that cost is still there. So we're just going to have to continue as this year goes along to look and see where we might be able to improve some efficiencies. What are some of the things we can do? But our budget for solid waste is surprising. It's a little over $2 million a year that we spend to dispose of garbage. And all you have to do is drive by convenience centers and you see the amount that gets collected. We generate a lot of waste in our community.
Has there been any concerns about trash being left at the gates, or has that been any more or less of an issue with the hours being changed? Have you heard anything about that?
I haven't got many calls, but I think it's one of those things that our solid waste people just kind of take care of when they get there. And it's the hours are posted; they're there, and I would ask people, be considerate of your community and the people that live around those centers, and learn the hours and the other centers that may be in your area that would be open, that you have alternatives to take, because there's someplace open every day except Sunday.
Is there any concern about recycling and about what the county's been able to get for some of the materials that they've been able to recycle? Has there been any issues with the market? Has that been dropped out? And that might be a Tim Armstrong question, but is there anything that's been going on with that?
It's a little more. Tim really tries to monitor those, but we know the price of a lot of cans and things like that and metals have dropped down. The getting rid of electronic waste is difficult, and but we are working hard to collect what we can and kind of emphasizing to the convenience center workers, pay attention to what's coming in. If you can divert people to put in, if they're throwing cardboard boxes, so if they come up and talk to you, they're trying to save us money and get things into proper areas.
Transitioning over to EMS, the EMS director Chuck Kearns is getting settled in slowly. What's his status right now? Is he getting comfortable? Is he where's he as far as his schedule right now?
He is. He's pretty much here full time now. We knew he would be in a transitional phase, and as I've said, most of the times we promote within. We don't look a lot of times out, and so if you're used to, and people say run government like business, well, a lot of times in business, whenever you're hiring executives to come in and lead departments, you have that transition as they're working out commitments and other things. And I know he wants to get here full time, be here every day, and get his family here with him. And so he's right now hooked in out at one of the substations, so that's giving him an opportunity to meet with additional employees. He's staying in his RV, but he's doing a whole lot of cleaning and a whole lot of housekeeping too, as we just have items that need taken care of and cleaned up, and just getting settled in. He's excited about the move. This is an area that they wanted to come to, as do a lot of people. And I think once he gets settled in, and starts getting out in the community a little bit more and people start meeting him, they'll be well pleased with the transition. And it's not going to go without some growing pains for employees and others, because he's different. And when our pastor left, I'm going to kind of use this. He used the analogy, Moses is dead, Joshua is different. And he said it was time for a change and time for him to move and for us to bring somebody else in with fresh ideas. So that's what we're going to get, and I'm excited about what he's bringing in.
The Election Commission met the other week and decided to vote on a plan that is going to reduce the number of precincts in the county from, what was it, 30, almost close to 40. It was up in the upper 30s, and drop that number down to a little bit more of a manageable number. Just kind of explain how that's all going to happen and what people can expect the next time they go vote. A lot of the good things, this has been something that's talked about for years, reducing those number of precincts by them being at schools. We know that it should improve parking. It should improve the access into some of the precincts were old, and the ability to get in, with Americans with Disability Act, to make sure they're in compliance and stuff was always an issue. I've heard Election Commission complain for a number of years the ability to get workers to be there and to actually even show up come Election Day, that things has to be staffed. And I use the example of my dad. I can remember growing up, but he voted at Rehr School. And when they closed that election precinct down and told him to go down to South Greene to vote, he didn't have any problem. He knew where to go and where to vote. It's something that we vote typically every 2 years. They'll be sending out notifications, and people more and more are voting early. As a kid, I can remember Election Day, people went and spent the day at the polls. They don't do that. They go and they take care of voting and they leave. So as community changes and people's voting habits change, I think they've just responded to what they felt needed to happen, was to streamline that process and reduce the number of voting precincts. With the number of precincts being reduced, has there ever been any thought given to reducing the number of folks on the county commission? Obviously, 21. Nothing against any of the commissioners themselves, but just in the eye of kind of redoing some things. Has that ever come up? Is that something that's even feasible?
Yeah, over the years there has been actually reduction. You look at some of those old county court clerk or county court pictures. I think they had somewhere in the 40s the number of people on the commission. So it has been reduced. I don't know if any of the commissioners have had any comments among themselves or among their constituents to reduce. 21 is a large number, but just kind of like we mentioned a while ago, you have a lot of committees. And there's pluses and minuses with having that many. One of the pluses is that I've talked to people at other counties that may have a small number of commissioners on theirs, and they may have an elected official that's able, if you have 7 or 9, they can get that 4 or 5 commissioners that really stand behind them that will vote for pretty much whatever they want. Well, that's not good. You kind of take away some of that independence there. And with the number of committees we have, some meet quite frequently, budget and finance, insurance, some of the others that meet monthly and can take quite a bit of time. It would be hard for an individual that worked to make some of those meetings, the difficulty it would be for that individual that's out in the community holding a full-time job to be able to make commission meetings. And that was one of the reasons this commission actually changed to night meetings, because those that worked were going to have a difficult time, they felt, getting off from work the amount of time they needed during the day. So that's why that change was made. It's one of those things that's always out there, I guess. If they felt like that it was in the best interest of the commission to reduce some of those numbers, I wouldn't want it to get too small. No.
But the other thing too to consider is that the money that would be saved would be negligible, since commissioner, as you know, the commissioners aren't making a whole lot of money off of the job.
No, they get $50 for a commission meeting and $25 for a committee meeting. So as you say back, the amount of hours that some of the insurance and budget and some of those put in, they're not coming out well on that. And I know when I was a commissioner, I'll just use this example, I would take that amount of money I got, cashed it, put it in an envelope, because you go to a lot more of events. You're going to dinners, you're meeting with people, you're getting asked to make donations to different things. So it was pretty much, you can say, a break-even proposition. And if you counted your time in there, it's not a money-making proposition for a commissioner. So there would not be, actually we could look in our budget and see, but it's not a great deal of money that is spent on the commissioners.
Is there anything else that's on your radar screen right now as far as events or activities or anything else that's going to be looming?
Jim, it's hard to imagine. We're in September already.
It is amazing.
Second day of fall, I guess.
Yep.
And so we are continuing. We talk about education, workforce development is one of those things. I tell people I think that we're kind of cyclical. As I graduated college in 78, it seemed that industry and business and manufacturing a lot was moving overseas. And so we do have kind of a lag of people that are prepared to go into manufacturing, but there's a lot of good paying jobs. I think high school kids, we realize now that college isn't meant for everybody. We have a lot of tech centers and things out there. And for those young people in middle school and high school to look now, those are high technology jobs anymore. So, that need for the math and the science and stuff is going to be even more so in manufacturing. But jobs are out there. I think more are coming. We talk to other manufacturers that are looking to expand in this area that can be very competitive financially because of our tax rate. If you look, I think we're somewhere at 80th in the state, and Tennessee's one of the lowest tax rate states in the country. So we can be very competitive when the Worthingtons and the people start looking at expanding their workforce.
I know that one event that's coming up is actually going to be coming up on Friday, and Friday is going to be the 20th anniversary of the death of Sheriff's Department Sergeant Rick Coyle, and obviously the situation and that you remember very well, and they're going to have a commemoration at 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon in front of the courthouse for that.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Jim. Rick worked on the county ship corresponding to my city shift when I was at the police department, so it's just hard to believe it's been that long. Rick had a great personality, was just enthusiastic, was just a hoot to be around. Some of his sayings almost remind me of Yogi Berra, that just passed. I mean, Rick had some very comical things that he would come up with sometimes, and he was great to work with, was always there to back up and to help, and so those individuals that worked with him years ago, he's greatly missed.